Hi everyone, it's Mark Wilkinson here, live from London. British summertime is upon us. Time-wise, it's 7:30 p.m. We've just had the hottest March day in 56 years, I believe. It was said today. So 56 years, the hottest March day. I've been on the golf course, which is probably why I look a little bit red. But at the end of the day, I'm actually out tomorrow on the golf course as well. So that's going to be great fun. But this is Life Remixed Book Club. Welcome along. Every Tuesday night, we invite some really interesting people that are connected to me in some way. And we invite them to come into Life Remixed Book Club and share their thoughts, their feelings, their take on Life Remixed, and indeed on their own lives and anything else that they're happy to share, really. So we're gonna have a great evening. It's going to be at least an hour. I expect 45 minutes to an hour. It may be longer because all these people love a chat, same as I do. We all love a chat, okay? Which is why we're here, right? Because we're here to talk, we're here to share, we're here to grow, we're here to do something positive. So as far as I'm concerned, I'd just like to bring them into the room with me now. Kev, great to have you on board, mate. I'm looking forward to you being here with us next Tuesday. That's Kev in Canada, Kev Button. He's going to join us next Tuesday on Book Club, so that's going to be great because I know the books have landed in Canada, and he's busy reading away on the book as well. But let me bring these wonderful guests in one by one. Here we go. This is Julia. Hello, Julia. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Excellent. So I'm great. Thank you so much. I'm really good. Hello, Diana. How are you?
Hi, Mark. I'm fine, thank you.
Excellent. Good. And last but by no means least, here's Gav. How are you, Gav?
Wonderful, thank you, Mark. How are you?
I'm good. What are you drinking?
I've just knocked this up. What's in there? Berries, raspberries, mango, water.
You've gone on the health kick, mate. I love it. Well done.
Try
well done. No, you're doing it. That's great. So, first of all, thank you all three for joining me for Book Club. Obviously, this is an opportunity for us all to talk about Life Remixed, but our own Life Remixes as well as, or your own Life Remixes as well as obviously mine and the book. You know, things that you've done and things that have affected your lives. So, you know, it's conversational. It's interesting. It's fun. We're going live across eight different platforms at the moment, which is great. And if you've got something to share, then please do. So let's get stuck straight into it. Gav, stop playing around with that microphone, mate, because it sounds like you're sending me Morse code, Gav.
Sorry. Let me unplug and plug back in again.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So let's go around the room then. Let's go around the room and talk to let's talk to Julia first. So we're all going to get this same question to get started. First of all, welcome, Julia. And how do you know me? And what was your first job? Because we're going to review chapter 3 of Life Remixed tonight, which is called Lost in Music. And I do talk about my first job and what went on. Mine was in a bank, believe it or not. And I did that for a little while. So Julia, how do you know me? And what was your first job?
Okay, so my connection with you goes back several years. Obviously, I'm only 22 myself, so but at least 25 years, I'd say, Mark. Through music, really, DJing. Came to a lot of your gigs and stuff, and also Ministry of Sound in London. My first job, unbelievably, was as a nurse.
Nice. Gav, are you still playing with that microphone? Leave it alone.
I'm getting told off already.
Don't touch it. No, it's good. It's all good. Diana, let's come to you. How do you know me, and what was your first job?
So I was, as you know, that I was looking for. I put out there. I was a little bit lost myself in my own journey, and felt like I was stagnating in terms of my sort of goals and desires and passions and things. So I've put it out there to the universe that I felt it was the right time for me to get a coach, and I put it out there, and lo and behold, you came along, and it's been a great journey, I have to say. So I've known you since about October of last year, maybe September, October, and it's been a great journey so far. My first job, embarrassingly, was I was 15. I left school. Pretty much ran out of school because I actually left school. I ran out of school, and got my first. When they gave us our national insurance numbers. Do you remember when you got your national insurance number on a card, like a little red and blue card? Couldn't wait. So I had my national insurance number. I was 15, so I went and got a job in McDonald's.
Nothing embarrassing about that.
my job before the bank when I was still at school was in Gateway Supermarket, and then another one in Little Caesars Pizza and all sorts. So hey, it wasn't all glamour, Diana. You know what I mean? We had to start somewhere. Do you know what I mean? But, thank you for sharing. And I know it's been a great journey, and I'm reading your book at the moment, which obviously is only in draft form at the moment. But it's a wonderful read. It's a beautiful, take on your life and what you're doing. So we'll touch more on that, of course. But I know you're doing a great job, and I'm loving what you're doing. So
thank you.
All power to you for that. And Gav, big Gav, yeah, he's there. He's not playing with the mic anymore, so that's good. Gav. How do we know each other? And what was your first job?
Oh, we know each other. So there's a friend of yours that introduced us. And I kind of needed to speak to someone really, and you was mentioned to me as like, Gav, you've just got to speak to Mark. Like, you will fly once you speak to Mark. But I really did need it, and it's someone that you've been friends with for a very, very long time, and they spoke so highly of you, and the things I was hearing were just amazing. And I was like, it took me a while to speak to you though. I had your number for a couple of months, didn't I, before we actually spoke, and that was probably me in that Egyptian river of denial, So, and my first job was I was a postman in a post office in Upper Street when I was 17. Yeah. I left school, and that was the first job I ever had. Yeah, so
went on the post.
Postal cadet, Upper Street, Islington. Yeah, loved it, to be honest. I paid a lot of money at the time for that age as well, 1987. Yeah, it was great.
That was a decent job straight out of school, wasn't it?
Yeah, but when you're 18, 19, Mark, like you just want to go out and have fun, as we all know, and you just think, this job's like, now I'm thinking like, if I stuck at that job, I'd be retiring on a fat pension by now, if I stuck there at my age. But obviously at 19 I was like, this job's like, and I went and done something else and went to college, and then just like worked my way through the 90s, doing pretty much everything you're talking about in your book,
which we will cover, of course. And you did your e-colors, and you came out as top color blue. Very, very lots of empathy for people, and that's cool. That's great. And but also with the top color blues, you can be a little bit more steady paced. So that's partially why it would have taken you a couple of months of thinking everything through before you were ready to reach out and have a chat with me. Do you know what I mean? But we're also making some great progress, right? I mean, things are starting to shift. Yeah. We'll talk more about that. So, so look, I have to share. Obviously, I've got Life Remixed. I know you've all got copies of Life Remixed, all you guys, and it's doing great. Thank you for having it to hand there. Of course, I know you've all read it. I think most of you have read it. I think Julia's read it through twice. I think Diana might be on a second read as well, and I think Gav's
making notes.
And I think it's really, really important to understand the lessons that are in there, because they're obviously it's my experience, but at the end of the day, every one of you can learn from those as well. And you three have all written reviews for me on Amazon, and I just want to say to everyone who's watching, those Amazon reviews, so far we've had 20, which I'm massively grateful for. I was told yesterday that we need at least 100 before Amazon are actually going to start to take real notice of Life Remixed as a book, as a challenger, as something that more people can reach out to. So it's really, really, really important that every one of you, please, I beg you, get out there and do an Amazon review when you're ready. These guys have all done it already. And Julia, do you want to just give us an overview of, before we get into chapter 3 necessarily, just a quick overview of how you felt, because you shared some stuff with me before.
I did. I think chapter 3, the main emotion that was for me was just tearfulness. I think I messaged you a couple of times. I can't stop crying. It really just resonated with me, both because of how you are as a person. A few things you said in that chapter really kind of got to me, as it were, both as a mum and just as I think I'm got quite a lot of empathy as a person as well. So a few of those things really resonated. And I guess just touches of my own life in there. I think saying about your father, that was quite reminiscent of my grandfather, who had a similar kind of experience to your dad. The fact he was in the box room, it kind of really, don't start me off again, Mark.
Listen, Julia, trust me, Julia. If you do end up crying on this, people will love you for it. I promise you. People love people that are able to show emotion.
Yeah.
And I I think some of the messages you showed me, or sorry, the message you sent me, one of the big ones was I've laughed, I've cried, you know, I've been up, down, I've been here, there, and everywhere, and I've read it all, and I've read it through not once but twice, and I'm like, actually, like, there's so much value that you believe that you got out of it, you know, not just reading about my story, but actually likening it to your own journey in many ways. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so. And what really came across to me is just the fact that despite everything, you know, you're obviously very successful at that time and everything else, but you still kept that kind of sense of humility and just love for your family. That really, really, for me, really shone through. And that just made me think even more, actually, what you're doing is not just promoting yourself or anything like that. It's actually about showing the other side of yourself. And from that, you can see that you just want to help people. It's in your DNA, if you like, which sounds a bit corny, but that's what came across to me. Despite me knowing you for a long time, I probably didn't know that side of you. Our relationship was very much more music and everything else, so that it really kind of, made me cry for a few days.
I think you know, you don't really know someone in music, in nightclubs, in dance, you know, on dance floors and stuff. You don't really know people. You know of people and you see their energy, sort of dance, joy, but you don't know them actually. You know, you don't know their story, and it. You know, it's been a burning ambition for me for 10 years to share this story because I know it can help other people. And the more people it can help, the better I feel. You know, and the better, it's win-win for everyone, essentially. And I mean, just on a side note to that, the National Ankylosing Spondylitis Society, NAS, are actually talking to me about fronting up part of a campaign for them and stuff like that in the coming months to actually help more people that are struggling with ankylosing spondylitis, or indeed the pain and the agony that I found I ended up finding myself in, that you've read about. They're actually asking me to actually get involved and help other people, which is just beautiful. It's just the best thing. It's just something that I want to be able to do, you know, in my life every minute of the day, is reach out and help as many people as possible. So that's beautiful, Julia, and I thank you for that. And obviously, I know your Amazon review is there, and if anyone goes to Amazon and looks up Life Remixed, they'll see. I think your review is under the name Aussie, isn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. So it's under Aussie. That's great, and that's a beautiful overview of everything as well, Julia. So thank you for that. Diana, I mean, obviously, you know, you've read it through once, you're going through it twice, are you now? And you know, but chapter 3 for you, I mean, you know, obviously you've written a beautiful review on Amazon as well, which I really appreciate. But you know, chapter 3, or indeed any other bits that sort of resonate with you, that are kind of sort of jumping out, that things that you're thinking about.
Yeah, a little bit like Julia. I found it really, I think you was really vulnerable. I could really read your vulnerability in that, and it was really relatable, which I really appreciated, actually. I think that, you know, you're not shy. You wasn't shy to really just say it how it was, and go right to the, you know, where life has taken you, which I think is really important. If you're going to be able to help people, you've got to be able to, it's quite a skill, really, I think, to be able to reflect that in. And I was just really impressed. And also, so I really liked your vulnerability. But I also liked as well, because obviously I'm the same age as you, and I share I've had some of those moments. You know, I've been through the rave scene and you know, the hardcore scene and that, so it took me back a little bit, and I enjoyed that. And even though some of the things that, you know, we should say, oh yeah, and they weren't really good and whatever, there were some of the times of our lives. So it was it had everything in it, really, for me. So you had the sadness and the trauma, but also the lightness and the happiness of those times in that era. So I really enjoyed it.
Which I couldn't deny. I mean, none of us can deny it. You know? And you know, some people, the fun and the music and the youth and the experience and the joy and all the, you know, time of your life, as you said, and all this amazing stuff that was going on, I couldn't deny it. So, you know, chapter 1 had to be like, okay, so this is what happened, and this is the disaster of the physical collapse. But chapter 2 had to be good times, and chapter 3, although it's called Lost in Music, because ultimately I did end up lost in music, the music part of it is still like the joyous bit that actually, you know, I've reached people across the globe, you know, with music in 65 countries and stuff like that. So you can't deny that. You have to express that as part of the story, right? So, you know, it's not but yeah, the vulnerability thing, I mean, one of my friends.
It was beautiful. I thought it was really beautiful, and it really touched me. Like Julia, it moved me, and I think that's the beauty of that. And if you can move people through your writing, then you can actually help people, because people will listen and read it and want to read it again and take note.
I think you're right, and you know, I think one of the things for me was that. You know, one of my friends messaged me, and he messaged me on WhatsApp, and he was like, "My God," he's like, "You are really like you're opening a book up here for yourself, mate." He's like, he's not bigging me up. He's just going, this is amazing, because many people will go through their whole lives and not do something like this.
Yeah.
But what I want to do, I want to make it possible for more people to do something like this, because every single one of you has a story. You have something that's going on within you that you want to share. Julia, I know you want to sing more and do more with music. You know what I mean? Diana, you've got a book coming out, or you will have a book coming out. Gav, you've got hopes and dreams and businesses you want to build and all this kind of stuff, and you're part of your own sort of life remix. So, but yeah, Gav, as far as the overview, I mean, you've written me a beautiful review on Amazon as well, which I'm most grateful for, mate. As far as the way chapter 3 handled the whole book is kind of like has worked. What's your thinking?
Loving it. I'm loving it because it's just got everything. Like, so it's got like stuff that you can laugh at, stuff that, as the girls have said there, that you can cry at, and there's a lot of parallels with my own life. So I'm reading this going like this. In parts, it's like me, like childhood, spending like a decade doing certain things to mask that, pushing that deep down and hiding that, and hiding behind music and all the stuff that goes with it. I didn't even have the confidence to push myself and become as big as a DJ as I could have, or my talents or whatever. That's where the confidence wasn't. And that's all down to my upbringing and stuff like that. So absolutely just love the fact that because not everybody's brave enough, Mark, to open up their whole entire being and go, this is me. And the stuff you were saying about how the girls have already said, your dad in the box room and your mum, and it's like brutally honest, Mark, and just how you're just quite frank about all the occurrences, and there's a dash of humor, a dash of music. It's just got everything. I love it. Like, there's stuff that you can laugh at, it's great. And there's a few parallels to stuff that I remember happening with me when I was partly responsible for losing Paul's records, except for like you did with Rocky's. But we didn't get them back straight away. We had to wait 2 weeks and chase a cab company and meet up with a cab driver to get Paul's records back, and I felt terrible for weeks, Mark. So when I was reading that, I was like, I know exactly how you felt. But that lasted for me for like 2 weeks, and we eventually got his records back, and I was like, oh, please, God.
Thank goodness. Oh, yeah. Well, mate, honestly, that particular story, and Gav, I want to come back to you about Louise Hay in a minute, if I may, just before we move on from the books and self-development and everything else, because I know you're heavily reading that at the moment. Louise Hay's an incredible woman.
I love her.
Before we move to that, that story, basically, I was completely like, we've been at it since 9 o'clock in the morning, like getting on it was 9 o'clock it was like midnight, and I picked up all of the stuff. I picked up 4 record boxes and bags and coats, and because I thought I was doing Rocky a favour, so I picked everything up, and I went. It felt like a half an hour walk to get to this taxi, and I'm walking. I'm bumping through crowds. It's all, and I'm what's the word I'm thinking about? I'm confused. I'm in a confused state anyway. And I finally get all the way to this car park, and I put everything in the boot of that taxi. I swear to God, I put everything in the boot of that taxi. I know I did. Yeah. I got in, and we went back to the hotel, and it was me and Auden Stewart from Slam in Glasgow. I took everything out of the boot, took it all the way upstairs, put it down in the bedrooms and everything before we were going to go back downstairs to the bar. Put it all down, and I just looked at it, and I was like, "Well, there's my stuff." And Auden Stewart took their stuff and put it by the bed, and I was literally, my brain. You all know what I'm talking about.
Mark, it's that moment of horror, the realization, the second the pin drops, right?
My brain was, I was confused at best, and I'm going like, where's Rocky's stuff? Do you know what I mean? And because I knew I had it like half hour before, I definitely had it, and then I haven't got it, and I'm like, and that's what I'm going to them. I'm going, it must be in the boot of the cab. We need to ring the cab, and
that's what happened with us.
Going, it's definitely, there's nothing in the boot, mate, because I cleared it out, and I'm like, like, what? Oh, man, it was so bad.
2 weeks, Mark. We spent 2 weeks chasing a cab driver down. We got hold of him, and he was like, I'll have a look, and we're thinking, the geezer's just like, waffling
2 boxes
on
of
about
records. You'll find them, mate. You'll find them.
Yeah, they're huge. A massive yellow record box. Do you know what I mean? I still remember the colour of it. That's how it damaged me for 2 weeks, Mark.
But for people who haven't read the book, the end of that story is, and I'll share it because it's worth sharing. So I'm sitting in this bar, like almost crying, going, "I've lost all my mate's stuff, like everything. I've lost all this like precious Junior Boyzone acetate, like 50 quid to have, and like beautiful record that you can only play 10 times and it wears out, and it's like it's the most, and he's got loads of them, and I'm like, oh no, and he rings me, and it was like on an old mobile phones, and I remember it lighting up, and I answered, I'm like, hello, and it's Rocky, and I'm like, what? And I said, and the bar, I was in the bar, and the whole time went quiet, and they're all listening, they're all like, what's Rocky? Like, oh my god, and I'm like, hey, mate.
All looking for your reaction, like.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I was like, and I'm listening to him. I was like, what are you doing? He went, I'm in a cab. I went, all right, okay, yeah. He said, I'm on my way back. Okay, all right. I said, your records, mate. He went, oh yeah, I've got them. I was like, you've got them, and it was like
yeah, that goal had been scored.
Honestly, like 50, 60 people going like, and I was like, right. I was like, what?
No
I was trying to listen.
louder than you, though, Mark.
but I was going,
no
what do you mean?
Louder than you.
What do you mean you've got them? He went, and he said, I'm my coat. I'm like, and I was just, the long and short of it, he was walking around this like festival trying to find his way to the taxi, and he tripped over him. And actually, he said he tripped over. He looked down. He went, oh, my coat, because it was pissing down with rain as well. He went, oh, my coat is old. And he put his coat on, and he went, "Oh, it's my records as well."
And he actually thought you left them there for him, didn't he?
He thought I left them there for him.
Crazy.
I mean, there's 20,000 people walking around this festival. I mean,
amazing. Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. So that was just one. That's one story. Yeah, I mean, you got to share stuff like that. I mean, I thought it was.
There's loads of those splattered throughout, Mark. There's loads of those little instances.
I actually thought it was a friendship ender, to be fair. So fair play to Rocky for stepping up. So Matt was here last week. Matt just says your honesty is what brings your story to life, mate. Really enjoying reading. Colette's just saying bedtime reading. Thank you, Colette. Another blue. Yes, Gav. That's cool. And Kev saying, look, great session. So you guys, if you want to be a part of it while we're talking, then please just put your messages in wherever you're watching. I'll put you on the screen as long as we're all connected and it's all working properly. So yeah, just Gav, before we move on with any other questions, as far as Louise Hay goes, obviously I'll put you onto You Can Hear Your Life as part of
first
we've been
book you got me to read, and
first book you've read since school, right?
Yeah, Mark. Like your effect, it's unreal, right? If you take away books that you have to read at school that you don't want to, like I've probably read 2 books. I'm 50 now, right? I've probably read 2 books my entire life, and probably Graham Roberts' autobiography and Billy Connolly's autobiography, and it would have took me weeks to read it. So the first book you ever got when we started speaking, how long have we been speaking now, Mark? 5 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe more?
A bit longer, mate. A bit longer. Yeah.
A couple of months. He was like, right, well, here's your reading, and it was Louise Hay. And as I started reading it, I just couldn't put the thing down, and it's an absolute game changer. Absolute, and it clicked. Like as I was reading it, got through 1 or 2 chapters, and then I read her story, and then I started to go into the sessions, and I was like, I get it now. Yeah, that's the one. I absolutely get why that's the first book you got me to read. You didn't just pluck them out the air. There was a reason why you got me to read that, and still got to thank you for that. Like, every time I speak to you, I'm like, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the point is that was when I work with people, I understand where they are. And that's my first thing. I understand first of all, I understand who they are, so I understand their e-colours and stuff like that. I understand where they are, and I understand what they want to achieve, and then I say, well, try reading this a little bit, and see how you get on with it, and if that resonates with you, then I know where to go next, and that kind of stuff. And that's kind of it's a personal thing that I do for each individual person I work with, and Gav, I know it's changing your life, mate, in so many beautiful ways. Good on you,
Mark. It's absolute game changer, because now I'm looking at her affirmations. Got another book from her there, Meditations to Heal Life. There's that one there. And Absolutely, and I'm not ashamed to say I love that woman. Like, because I just think
she's beautiful. She's
just
beautiful.
such a beautiful human being, and the way she puts things and gets it. And I'm not ashamed to say I absolutely love that woman. Right, so
well, that's her mission. That was her mission. She sold like 40 million books. She just died recently at 96. But she actually decided, by the way, that death for her was going to be a very, very peaceful, beautiful experience. She passed away, and that's exactly what happened for her. So, you do think about what you bring about, and it's an important thing we'll talk about a bit later when we talk about this stuff. But let's continue on. So obviously the second book that Gav's read since school is now called Life Remixed. And here's a copy. And obviously we're looking at chapter 3. And I always like to start with 3 little quotes, or a few little quotes actually, at the start of every chapter. The first one is, comparison is the thief of joy. I think that is so important, because I spent so long as a kid at 20 years of age to even 35 years of age, always comparing myself as a DJ to other people and thinking, well, they're more successful than me, or, they're a better DJ than me. And I just took away all my own joy and happiness.
Yeah,
I mean,
I did that constantly.
What an idiot. Does that all resonate with all of you? Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, that I did constantly, Mark, in my time during the 90s, especially when there's a lot more DJs around and maybe not even as technically gifted mixing and stuff. And you sit there and you go, well, look at them, they're massive. But I never had the confidence. But it's the comparison being the thief of joy is so true. And I've only just come across that, but it just makes so much sense to me.
Well, here's Colette being very honest as well. Look, that's so true. The comparison quote, I still do it. Do you know what I mean? Julia, what do you reckon about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've probably bored you with this in my life as well, but I really wanted to be a DJ at one point. And again, not many female DJs knocking around. Had some decks, gave it a bit of a go. Never was brave enough to take it out into the actual arena and go for it. That's going to change. I'm starting now. So watch out, Mark.
No, that's we've also had conversations about you singing, right? And you sing in a band, you do a lot of covers. And I've said to you, well, let's do a demo, let's get something moving. And
you look like a rock star.
Do I? Thank you.
You look like a rock star.
She's just had her hair cut, right, by her husband. By her husband.
By her husband. Because we've all
Look how good
I meant to share that.
Look how good it looks amazing.
I've got a mullet. Yeah, he just decided to do it. So yeah, it had to be done. But yeah, and singing wise as well, all my life, sung all my life from, very, very young age. But again, you stand beside somebody and think, oh, they're better than me. Oh, what if I forget the words? What if I this? And again, just having read the book, I literally closed it after the first read and thought, right, that's it. That is it now. I'm going to go out there and just, if people don't like my voice, don't listen. Easy as that.
I'll tell you what, someone said this to me once, and it was a beauty. It was absolute beauty. Someone said to me once, I don't know the way to be successful, but I do know the way to be unsuccessful, and that's try to please everyone. Please everyone. You can't please everyone. It's never going to happen. All right. So don't worry about that, because it's a waste of time. Right. If you think about the leaders of the country, 48% of the people don't like them at all.
Absolutely.
But 52% do like them, and so they keep going, So you've got a thick skin. You've got to have a thick skin on this stuff, and I've had to learn it in many ways. I've put this book out. There's some people who don't like it. Some people who don't like the stuff in it. Okay, it's okay.
Marley quote in there somewhere about pleasing some of the people some of the time and all the people all the time. It's like,
there you go. There you go. So Diana, comparison is the thief of joy. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, similar to everybody. I mean, not so much in terms of music, but I think, a little bit about my own sort of background and things. And I always felt like I never fitted in because, I didn't have like maybe the sort of usual parenting as people would have, as you know. So I was always kind of measuring myself and thinking, well, I'm not as successful. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But now I just, at my age now, I have got to the point where I am, and with your help as well, letting go of all of that. It's not important. My story is important. My journey is important, and what I want to achieve, not what everyone else has done. So, people's lives are important, but not for me to feel bad about myself and what I haven't achieved or have achieved. Or.
But you're a unique individual, as is everyone on this screen, as is everyone watching. You're all utterly unique. There is not another person out of 6 billion people on the planet. There's not another one that looks like you, sounds like you, or has your experience. So
exactly,
comparison is the thief of joy. Just stop it. You know, I know I make it sound easy, but I've practiced a lot.
No, it does. It robs you of your confidence and your ambition as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's pointless. What's the point?
Pointless.
You know? And
nobody even cares. Those people that you're comparing yourself to don't even know and don't even care.
And what we're doing is we're locking ourselves into little mental prisons that actually we don't fulfill our potential because what will she say, or what will he say, or what will, you know, hello, you know, we're only on this planet for a short time, you know.
Exactly.
Louise Hay got to 96, you know. Colonel Tom got to 100, 101 or whatever. You know, we're not here for a long time. That's still quick. Yeah. So I think we have to really, 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 you know, go for it. You know, and at 50 years of age, some of us, in fact, most of us on the screen here are around 50 years of age. You know, bottom line is that we're still young. You know, you've still got loads of time on the planet. You've got 20, 30, 40, hopefully you've got about as long on the planet as you've already had. So let's get on with it.
And that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Let's not
because
be down
how
on
much
that.
wiser are you now? You know.
Let's not be down on us. We can do so much more. You know what I mean? There's stories. If you go to Think and Grow Rich, I've said this before on many times, but if you go to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which was written after the 1930s recession, or around the 1930s recession, which was another huge financial health kind of crisis that went on, of course. He says people's most successful years on the planet are 45 to 65.
Yeah.
He also talks about people that found themselves bankrupt at 60 and still made it big by the time they were 70. So never give up. You know, never be beaten. You know, it's like you've got, you know, we've all got a choice in this. Never, ever, ever be beaten. Anyway, let's keep going. A couple of other quotes at the start of chapter 3, because we're only at the start of chapter 3. We've been online for half an hour, but anyway, let's keep going. So I love this quote from Elton John. I love Rocket Man. There's a film, Elton John's Rocket Man.
Brilliant film.
What a film. I love that. Real love is hard to come by, so you learn to cope without it. I think that's a really important quote, and we won't dwell on it too long, but what's really important, and one of the things I talk about later in the book, is that true love starts within. It starts with you, and it starts with total accepting, you know, your face, your body, your life, who you are, and when you can actually understand that, you know, real love is hard to come by, but it starts within. So when you love you, then you can you know, love other people. So I think that's a really important sort of lesson to share. And this one from Lance Armstrong: pain is temporary. It may last a minute, an hour, a day, or a year, but eventually it will subside and something else will take its place. And that's what happened to me with the pain that I found myself in, right? But if I quit, this is the important bit. If I quit, it lasts forever. And that's a good point, isn't it? Because if you quit any time, and this is what we're talking about, you know, don't quit. You know, bring that energy, bring that persistence, bring that determination to the surface, and go for it. You know, Colette's just saying that's good to hear because she's 44. You're still a young pup there.
Yeah.
Plenty of time to die. Look at all the 50-year-olds on this screen.
I know, we all go.
But what I would say as well is I do like to make myself laugh sometimes, and that's why I write. That's why I write a few things in here. But I do like this bit. Before I continue, if you're wondering why I've added the Lance Armstrong quote above, especially after he was disgraced and his drug abuse and everything else, cheating and being stripped of his 7 Tour de France titles, let me explain. I think it's terrible. Just think about what he achieved, winning all those races whilst winning all those races whilst on drugs. Let me tell you something. When I was on drugs, there's no way I could even find my bike. Anyway, move on.
That cracks me up, Mark. That absolutely cracked me up.
Well, you know, it's, you know, you got to find the humour in it, haven't you? Really. So,
and there's loads of moments like that throughout the book, which is why, it's so great. Yeah. So
well, that's part of it, because I do think if you're real with people and you've showed that you could, you know, I've gone through a huge amount of self-development, right? I don't drink alcohol anymore. That was just how I decided to change my life and detoxify my life. And some people, if they're still into drinking and all that kind of, they'll be like, you know, boring and all that. I'm not boring. I mean, far from it. Do you know what I mean? I believe I can actually be quite entertaining. I don't need to get drunk to be entertaining.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm exactly the same. I haven't drunk in years, not because I've ever had an issue with drink, just got out of the habit. And people would say to me, oh, you know, how do you manage a night out? Well, perfectly well, thanks, because I love music. I'll dance all night. It's fine. I'm not stumbling around, you know, vomiting everywhere. It's great, you know.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, isn't it? But actually, lots of people have then said to me, oh, I wish I could give up drink as well. So it's an interesting conundrum.
That's really interesting, because I actually thought, I remember the day I gave up alcohol, which we actually come on to next week in chapter 4, but we'll touch on it now.
Yeah.
The day I gave up alcohol,
yeah.
The day I gave up alcohol, the following Saturday, I was back in Ministry of Sound playing a gig. And I must admit, I had this huge fear that I was going to walk in there and people were going to be like, what's up with you? You know what I mean? I just like, have a drink, have this, have that. And I was like, oh no, they're all going to judge me, and no, you know, no one's going to like me. Well, you know, that sort of yellow, bluey, red kind of fear that we have, that we want people. We want people, you know, in e-colours, we want people to like us or love us, preferably, you know. And I had this thing, oh no, this is a disaster. And then when I got to the point of actually saying that to people, and people were saying like, you know, come on, Mark, have a drink. And I went, I'm all right, thanks. You know, all good. You know, knock yourself out. You want to crack on, but I don't drink anymore. And people were like, what? And I said, no, I decided this week I'm not drinking alcohol anymore. It's time to move away from that for me, you know. And I expected so much of a negative reaction, and the 97% of people went, I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And you felt great after. You felt like, yes. Yeah,
but I was like, really? Wow.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important, you know. And Kev makes a good point here as well. It turns out most of the racers were on drugs indeed in the Tour de France. That's right. They were, most of them were at it, weren't they? But yeah. So look, it's all good. So let's talk a little bit about Lost in Music. That's the title of the chapter of chapter 3. I was lost in music for sure. I got into it for the right reasons, because I loved it and brought joy to people and everything else. But I ended up in this crazy world of, like, you know, getting drunk, you know, in a club, and then like by 5-6 o'clock in the morning, I'm ringing people to come around to my flat, and all sorts of crazy stuff going on that I shouldn't have been doing, you know, and I wasn't doing myself any favors at all in that time. But, you know, that's one example. The other times I've been lost, obviously, with my health. I was also lost with, like, you know, losing money and being bankrupt. You know, I mean, is there any sort of things that resonate with you? Because lots of people right now will be feeling lost, trying to find their way out of this particular crisis that we're in, you know, the worldwide crisis. Hopefully we're out of. But, you know, Diana, particularly in your line of work and stuff like that, are you able to share anything about, because you help people with this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I suppose I'm in a different sort of stage in my career now, so I don't really work directly with people anymore, unfortunately. I was talking about that today, that I actually kind of missed the direct work with children and families. But so I'm a social worker, so that's that. But I think for me, at this point in my life, what I'd like to say about being lost, I think, you know, I've been lost at so many different times and found my way back, because I'm a really determined person as well. And, like, you know, I think that's been my saving grace. So when I decide to do something, I'll get on with it and I'll do it. But I've kind of been stagnating for some time, I think, really, just for about 5 or 6 years, really, trying to write my book and, you know, focusing on my work and that, and feeling like I'm not getting anywhere. So for me, that's where I felt like I was lost, and I feel like I'm coming alive again, and I'm really happy because I'm reading a lot. I mean, I'm an avid reader. I've not so much like you, Gav. I've read like extensively as a young person, and I just stopped. I just stopped, and I've kind of felt like, why did I stop? And now, like, I'm reading like 3 or 4 books. Now I've got Ogmandina. I'm loving that. Never even heard of that before. Loving that at the moment. Greatest salesman. So, and that's because of you, Mark. So, yeah, I felt like I was just lost in my own sort of world and my mind and stuff, and that. And I needed to, you know, refocus and re-energize myself.
Yeah, and I think there's a great quote, actually. I know, and it's you know, it's a comedy, of course. It is Ricky Gervais with The Office, but he actually said, one of the things he says is quite interesting. And when he's talking about, like, the general thing of life, he says life is a series of peaks and troughs, and you don't know you're on a peak until you're coming down off of it, and you don't know you're in a trough until you're coming back out of it. And actually, that's quite an interesting quote for, like, normal people is not what I want to say exactly, but for normal life. But certainly the things I coach and the things I've learned and the things I put in Life Remixed, they can take you away from that kind of uppy down, uppy down. And that's the point. I think for me, I've found solutions now that I stick to, daily, daily practice, get things done, get moving, be purposeful, vision, goals, all the stuff we talk about. I do all of that to such a level now that I'd never have those kind of peaks and troughs and everything more, because I'm totally focused on getting forward and success, because that's what we're about, right? But yeah,
and that's what I'm working on. Yeah, that's what I'm working on, really. Those principles, and trying to keep focused on that. And
it's subconscious programming. That's what it is. Surrounding yourself with the right people, the right information, the right reading, like attracts like, and we'll talk about The Secret in a little while, but all this stuff that we understand more about. Gav, from your perspective, any times, because obviously you were a DJ and then you've done various other, career changes and all this kind of stuff. You've been through change, obviously, being lost at certain times in your life must resonate a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like, there's been quite a few times I felt lost in life, I mean, even as a kid with my upbringing and stuff like that. And did I ever really recover? Probably not until now, to be fair. Was I lost? Yeah, probably loads of times. And then there are times when you're just like in a better place. So then you're not really taking much note of it. And then you get to speaking, and similar to yourself, Mark, with The Secret, thoughts become things, healing, and all the things that you speak about, especially all the stuff that's in your book. And it gets you to thinking when you start finding your authentic self again. And that's what it is like you're accepting and then just realizing I need to get back to the authentic self without all the what you call BS. I love that expression, belief systems, and it's like BS, which is absolutely what it is. So that's why I can absolutely feel this book, Mark, because so much stuff in there where I can just see, like, I've been there, and I've been through it recently as well, as you know, because we speak. So, absolutely.
But it's important. I think it's important to know that, obviously, you can be lost at times, but you can find yourself, you can find your way again, and you can get moving, right? And I mean, Julia, even COVID has been a challenge for you and your husband, right? I mean, you've been, because of his work, right? So that's been a challenge in itself. That must have been tough.
Yeah, has been quite tough. It's interesting, though, isn't it? You're saying about belief systems and things. And I think I've always felt at slight advantage, having been a nurse for so long. I did 22 years. And I did accident and emergency mainly. And it showed me the value of life and how quickly life can just change. So I've always had that kind of possibly advantage over other people. I've often sat back and thought, right, this is not a practice run and everything else. But bizarrely, COVID actually clarified everything for me. And I would say, strangely, has really been helpful to me and to my family, because lockdown, I wasn't working at the time, and I just literally focused on music. Music was what got me through. It's always been my first love, and it literally got me through that. Then I've just reconnected and connected with new people, even people from your Saturday night lockdown mixes, complete strangers that would then become Facebook friends and have texting conversations, because we all love music, and it's fabulous. And it's really clarified for me that even when you feel lost, there's always something that you can relate to and find strength in and just believe in, really. COVID's been good and bad, really, for me personally.
Yeah, well, I think everything is yin and yang. Everything can be good and bad. It depends how you perceive it. And it does depend on your belief systems. And some of the questions you have to ask yourself is, if something's starting to really bother you, well, why? Where's that belief come from? Is that belief serving you? Tony Robbins says, ask yourself better questions, you'll get better answers. But many people don't want to ask themselves those tough questions. They want to try to avoid them, right? And so Colette's joining. Colette's saying here, look, I'm starting my nursing soon, currently working with dementia residents in a care home. Wow, Colette, that's amazing. And all power to you, Colette.
Absolutely.
Keep doing what you're doing, because caring about people is a real gift. And actually, what's interesting is that everyone that's listening and all of you guys, we're all in that same kind of people caring, empathy kind of like, sphere, if you like. It's very, very interesting, actually. Like attracts like, attraction.
Caring is sharing.
So I've got something for you. Music is the sound of emotions. Discuss. What do you think? Music is the sound of emotions. You know, on a Saturday night, music can be a game changer, right, Julia?
Yeah. Music is literally my first love. And your Saturday nights, I mean, a friend even sent me a plaque to go above my kitchen door. It says, "In this kitchen we dance," literally because of, you know, my Facebook post with you. And yeah, it is literally my everything. And it's my go-to when I feel sad, my go-to when I feel happy. And I've again messaged Mark many occasions saying, "Oh, this song makes me cry, but I love it so much." You know, house music's my first love, but all kinds of music. But house music can really just spark things in me that nothing else can really. So.
And how good was Rebecca's dancing video on Saturday?
Rebecca's dance. I think she's watching us right now. That was tip top, Becky.
I love the little twirl. I love the little twirl towards the end of it. She just dashed it up.
It's a disco spin. Absolutely.
That was brilliant. So fair play to her. Fair play to her. That was amazing. So Facebook user, thanks. Says music and dancing has been really healing for me for this year too. Too right. Absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, music. Yeah, Gav, music's been a big part of your life as well, right?
Yeah. Even since I was a kid, like learning. One of the advantages when my mum disappeared was my auntie and uncle had to come and live with us so that my dad could go and work, you know. And he bought a drum kit, so I was playing the drums at like 7 and 8 years old, and just always loved music, Mark, and always. But I love all different kinds of music, and I'm the sort of person where if I'm listening to a tune and I've got to be in someone's house, I'll stay in the car and listen to that track again or something before I get out of the car and go to be where I'm supposed to be. It's probably not the best thing for my timekeeping, but yeah.
The tune resonates with you, mate. You got to go with it, right?
Yeah, just I have an affinity with music. I feel music, and yeah, house music is massive for me. It's it's such a big love. But also, I love all different kinds of music. I'll listen to any if it's good. I'll listen to it. I'm not a music snob, you know. I'll listen to anything as long as it's good. So, yeah.
I mean, it's the sound of emotions. I think one of the things I spoke about with Marcy Shimoff the other week was I've watched the documentary of the Beatles, and one of my favourite Beatles songs was always "Help." It was always "Help." It was just such a good song. It was so lifting. It was 1965. They were rocking. You know, it was a "Help, I need somebody help," and you're like, well, that was amazing. What a great song. And then I finally watched the Beatles documentary, and it was John Lennon wrote the song because he was overwhelmed with the screaming like masses of people upon him. The actual words of the song are "Help," like please help me. Won't you please help me because it's too much. And you listen to that, oh my God, it's like it's the sound of emotion. It's the sound of someone putting something out that they say, this is something that resonates with me and I want to write about it and I want to tell people about it. So it's certainly the sound of emotion for you as well, Dinah, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've had some dance, you've had some rave scene and everything.
Yeah, I feel like I've missed out on the Saturday nights. I think the problem has been, I've had my grandson for a few Saturdays, and that's been my little joy at the moment because I just absolutely love him, and I spend but I feel like you've got one last one, haven't you? So I've really got to get there because I feel like I've missed out. But yeah,
I'm going to do this last Saturday is the last one for lockdown as such, because lockdown's coming to an end. People are more outside now, and you know, clearly I'm a bit sunburned, so you know, people are going to be more outside. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one session every month on Release Radio, so I'll still be doing that, and I will probably do one session a month on Mixcloud as well, actually, because they've been so good, they've been so well received. So
I will be there. I will be there, and I'll be dancing.
This one on Saturday is the last one of all the lockdown weeklies, I think. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see how many people we can attract onto it. But look, it is all good, and we have to talk a little bit about, you know, the ego and the dangers of too much ego, and indeed too much of everything. Because I think that's why I got lost. I think that's why I got lost in music. My ego got involved too much in, aren't I brilliant? Aren't I a great DJ? You know, I'm the best DJ in the world. So you know, and then but then I'd have these kind of these big ego moments because you know, music was really important to me when I was a kid. I used music to make something of myself, but then my ego got too much in the way. The bad habits, the toxic habits, the masking of the emotions, and everything else all got in the way. And then I used my ego to attract women, and you know, and it just, the whole thing, it just got totally out of control. And I think that's why chapter 3 is called Lost in Music, because if you allow that to happen, And one of the things I'm looking to do with Life Remixed is talk to people, younger people with addictions, you know, in certain, you know, schools and youth clubs. Youth clubs and that kind of stuff, because you know there is a bit of a warning here. You know, you can have too much fun, right? You can have a bit too much of everything, and it can end up bringing you down. Have you got any thoughts on that, any of you?
Yeah, I mean, too much of everything. I mean, as we know, Mike, you can burn out as well, and you're not thinking straight. It affects your decisions that you're making. Your ego takes over, and you can become a bit of an arsehole, really, you know, and all the stuff that goes with it. And you can lose friends, you can lose businesses, you can lose opportunities, you can lose relationships, you can fall out with members of your family. Ego is silent, but it can be lethal in terms of what it can do to you and how you come across to people and how you deal with people and how you speak with people. And yeah, beware the ego. You know?
I think it's one of the things. I think one of the things I did. I released a couple of albums after quite a few singles and Resident DJ Ministry of Sound and all that. I started to believe my own hype. I started to believe that I was like, aren't I great? And then I got caught up in some other worlds that were not serving me at all. And I think one of the things I've been very, very conscious of, it's like I've had this break of time where I've been in the real world. I've been earning money through the corporates. I've been, you know, doing all the things to bounce back from the bankruptcy and everything else. But then I got financially free, and then I wrote this book. One of the things I am very, you know, I mean, this is the most successful I've ever been. And yet what I genuinely feel is I'm also the most loving I've ever been. I'm also the most, you know, positive and happy I've ever been. And it's not about me. In fact, this is the key. This is the key. And Diana, you and I spoke about this the other day as well. Yeah, it's not about, you know, it's not about me. It's, you know, someone wrote on Facebook the other day about, it's your autobiography. I'm like, nah, you know, there's a little bit of me in this book. Of course there is, but the majority of it and the power in it is that all of you have read it, and you're like, actually, I understand a lot about, you know, what's going on in my own life just through Mark's story. So it's very, very important. It's not about me. Nothing. I've taken the focus completely off myself.
Yeah.
I did my homework.
By using yourself, oddly enough, by using yourself in your story allows other people to read it and help themselves, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, Mark, that. Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I do appreciate that. But I want, you know, particularly all of us who's learning and watching this together, as soon as you take the focus off you, and Diana, you were going to say something there, but as soon as you take the focus off you, things start to change in a really nice way. Go on, Diana. Sorry.
I just said I did my homework, and I'll share that with you in the week.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, I look forward to that. You know, I mean, you know, we've discussed a bit of this, but your story is a survival story. And I can't wait for people to read your book, Diana, because, you know, here's like Mr. White suburban kid going like, oh, didn't I have a tough time and all this, and then there's your story, and I'm like, whoa, you know, I can't wait for people to read more about what you've done, Diana, because I mean, I know you've been through it. Your story of survival can help so many. I'm
intrigued already.
Trust me, Diana's story of survival is something to behold. I'm telling you. So, you know, it's
watch this space.
Yeah. Watch this space. Diana will be around a lot with what we're doing here for sure, because she's a very special person to have come through what she's come through and lived the way she lives even today. So, you know, big up to you is what I'd say on that one. So, look, I mean, you know, all pain has a message is a belief of mine now. It wasn't something that I knew or understood or realised at the time when I was in a lot of pain, physically and mentally. I didn't understand the message at all, you know. And then someone said that to me, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And yet, actually, when you start to understand that pain has a message, I think you can start to take responsibility for it and change it. What do you think, Julia?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, again, we've had conversations about my experiences as a nurse, you know, so many. I could bore you all night with, you know, situations and instances where people have had symptoms of things that aren't necessarily related or they didn't think they were. Yeah, and it's incredible. You know, your mind and your body are so connected, and you just need to stop and listen to what it's telling you, because it generally does.
Yeah, I absolutely think you're right. But the thing is, you know, listen, the NHS, incredible what the NHS does, and I know obviously your husband works in it still and everything else, and you've done many years, and the NHS is incredible. What I would say about it is that it's a national sick service in some ways. You only go there when you're sick, and they fix you up enough to get you out the door and get you back, hopefully get you back on your feet, right, and get you back out. But the bit that people miss is that really it's our job to keep ourselves healthy so that we don't end up there. And that's not just physical health, that's mental and physical. It's our responsibility to understand ourselves and the universe and universal laws and everything else. If we take that responsibility, we're not passing that off. I heard Tony Robbins say, a doctor is just a coach. And if you think about it, we've in the Western world particularly, we've given doctors like this huge power over us. Like I'd go and see doctors and go, "Fix me up, please, doc," and be like, he'd be like, "Well, I can't." He's like, "Live a healthier lifestyle. Stop dicking about." And I'm like, "What? You can't fix me, but you're a doctor, But the point is that actually, that what I was doing there was giving the responsibility to him, and to be fair to him, he was like, "Well, I can't help you, mate. You need to sort yourself out." And I'm like, "Oh, right, okay." So I think that and doctors are caring, beautiful people in the whole, and majority they're caring, beautiful people. And I would never negate modern medicine because it helps every one of us in acute situations. But we many of us miss the personal responsibility to be able to keep ourselves happy, healthy, and wealthy, right? So
you went to plenty, Mark, didn't you? And not one of them asked you, apart from the one when you was leaving the room when he said about leaving the stressful situation, but you went to quite a few, and not one of them, they're all telling you you're going to be like that for the rest of your life. It's like,
well, let me share something with you. Yeah, I mean, all the doctors basically said, bad luck, it's in your genes, it's tough, it's just happened. I've even had that in more recent years, in the last 10 years, where a doctor with my knees, he said, "You'll probably never recover with your knees." I'm like, shut up, mate. I know I've already fixed myself once. I'm going to fix myself again, and I'll get on with it, right? But that was quite an interesting conversation, that bit about when that doctor said to me, "I do know of male patients particularly, that have left stressful situations and they've recovered." I mean, I was like, what? Because I'd never heard that before in my life. I'd never heard that. And I was like, "What? You think I'm stressed? I'm not stressed." Clearly I am stressed, but I wasn't even aware of it. That's the thing. I wasn't even aware, and that's the interesting part. The self-awareness and the awareness of how stress can impact you and everything else, I think is a learning curve, and it's something that we all learn slowly but surely through our lives, right? And I'll give you a definition of stress, if I may. A little definition of stress. Let's get some thoughts on this one. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something that we love is called passion. What do you reckon, people?
Yeah. Think about that for a minute. Yeah, that's great. I love that because when you love something, is it even work, Mark? So it's passion, isn't it? So you feel passionate about something, and you would probably do that for free, because the passion, and that's what drives you on. So then you can see why there's not a lot of stress attached to that. So that's my view on that.
Let me share something quickly about that, right? I was talking to this bass player, Leland Sklar, the other week on an interview we were doing, and I was talking with him, and he summed it up beautifully about a bass. You can see that on my, if you watch that interview, it's Phil Collins, his bass player, and I was invited into the interview. It was brilliant. But he basically said, this sums it up perfectly as a DJ, any kind of performer, anything like that you're doing. What you're actually paid for is the 22 hours of traveling or
rehearsal.
You're actually paid for all the actual 2 hours on the stage where everyone's loving you, and it's like, you're not getting paid for that. That's just a glory moment, but you're paid for all that.
All the prep.
All the prep, all the challenges, all the getting ready. That's what you get paid for. The actual bit about the actual joy that you bring in those 2 hours. And so, but what I've learned to do over a period of time is that actually I can bring that joy to every minute of every hour of the day. It doesn't have to be just based on music. And that's something that really I learned. And when I learned that, I knew that I could write a book. I knew that I could coach. I knew that I could add value to many people's lives. I knew that I could run companies. I knew I knew all of this stuff because all the pennies started to drop, and I was like, I can do this differently. And that was the Life Remix. That was the moment, really.
Yeah.
It was about remixing that thing. But yeah, I mean, Julia, as far as like, you know, passion goes, and the whole quote about working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Would you agree?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah, I think so. I think you can feel stressed even if it's something that you love, but it's a different kind of stress. I think if there is such a thing as good stress, I think it is possibly, you know, you could call it that. You still have to have that element of challenging yourself and, you know, getting the adrenaline flowing, but that's not necessarily to a bad end. Whereas I think if you are unhappy and you're doing something you really don't want to be doing, you know, it's demoralizing and everything else. And that's when problems then set in. And obviously the part about immunity, you know, stress lowers your immunity. That's a research medical fact. So the minute you start becoming really chronically stressed is when people have all these diseases, you know, irritable bowel and everything else. You know, I'm not a doctor, but that's kind of how it rolls. And I see it a lot in people. I do see it a lot in people. And in work, what I try and do is be really positive and fun to be around, because I feel that then kind of, even if it is stressful, it kind of generates a different feeling for people.
Yeah.
And I hope in my small
way,
in my small way that it just spreads a little bit of positivity, because you kind of get into it and think, oh, okay, this is quite a good funny day now, you know, and then it just lifts that stress a little bit. Certainly we did it in nursing. In A&E, we had a terrible sense of humour, and we would do all kinds of pranks just to really get through the stress. Otherwise, you know, would have all been, I don't know what we'd have been.
I think that's an important point, because we do all have a choice.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
We do all have a choice, and if we decide to live our passion, you know, you might not be able to just say, I'm going to live my passion tomorrow. You might have bills, and you might have responsibilities, and you might have things you want to change. But over a period of 12 months or so, which is obviously why I do a coaching program of 12 months now, etc., is that doing a 12-month thing, you can actually change a lot. You know, you can change a lot about your life to such an extent that you can start to move towards living and working things that you're passionate about. You know, and if you're patient enough with yourself over a period of time of grabbing changes, making the little changes, doing the little tasks, like setting the goals and moving. If you're passionate enough about it and you keep doing it and keep chipping away at it, eventually something will shift, and all of a sudden the universe will give you something that is exactly what you want. You know, it just takes that commitment. You know, nothing. We all know. Right? We all know through relationships, through work, through everything else, we all know that if you want something good in life, you have to commit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. You can't just flit about and think, well, I'll just dip in there a bit and dip in there a bit and dip it. You know, that doesn't work, right? And I'm talking about the entire 360 degrees of life. You know, just dip in and out, you commit. And when you commit, that's where the magic is. That's where the joy is. That's where the love is, right? So, Diana, obviously, I mean, you've been through some stressful situations with work over the years, right? I mean, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Life and work. A little bit like Julie, I think, and I'm really grateful, and I'm really into my gratitude at the moment. I mean, I've always been following that, but I'm really, really into it now, because for those things, you know, just being able to have that, you know, the aptitude to look at the sunnier side of things and be optimistic, because I think they're the things that have saved me, really. And I think if I can, you know, and I think that's what you've communicated in your book, Mark, and that's what I'd like to be able to hopefully communicate. I don't want it to be like a sad story, like a misery memoir. That it's a story of hope. It's a story of actually, if you do, you know, you can go through all of these traumas, you can struggle, you can have stress, but you can come through the other side of it. You can. But you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to look to. There's always there's loads of different ways that you can find a way to survive and to make good of bad situations. I'm not saying that, you know, just to, like, you know, poo-poo people's bad situations and say, okay, yeah, anyone can just survive. But, you know, you have to try, you have to strive, and you have to keep going.
I love the fact that the mental health agenda, you know, if you think about my life, certainly from my father with potential PTSD after World War II, and the fact that he lived his life in anxiety, doubt, and fear and worry, and he struggled. His life was such a struggle. Poor man. Who knows what he saw? Who knows what he went through, both his brothers killed. It wasn't Saving Private Ryan and some heroic story. There was people getting shot at, around him and stuff like that. So none of us can really understand that, but it was a tough thing for him. But so I grew up with that and then acted out myself with my own addictions and habits until I collapsed one day and had to wise up. But one of the things I think is that the mental health agenda has always been on my mind. It's always been something that I'd love to be able to help with and work with. And over the last few years, I love the fact it's becoming more into the mainstream. I love the fact that people understand that mental health is just as important as physical health. And the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 will allegedly one day actually be rewritten and updated to say that mental health is on a par with physical health, and they must all be connected and respected. So let's hope that happens. But here's the thing, right? Diana, you touched on it, and we're going to lead into The Secret and a couple of other things in a minute. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. That book was written around 1900, and this was the book that The Secret was based on. So this was the book that The Secret was based on, and it's got an entire chapter, the longest chapter in the science of getting rich. The longest chapter is called Gratitude, and this sentence just sums it up, which I've put in Life Remixed, as you know. The whole process of mental adjustment and atonement can be summed up in one word: gratitude. Now, if we could bring that message, if we can use Life Remixed, we can use all of our own skills and the only things that we do in this world. If we can use our own message to go out into the world and teach people to be grateful for the fact they've got a roof over their head, they've got food in their stomach, they've got heating or aircon or whatever, But if we can teach people just to be grateful for food, clothing and shelter, right, that's just such a start point, because then all of a sudden, it balances people out, doesn't it?
Oh, Mark, it's a game changer, gratitude, because I've only just recently started it, as you know, and it's as important as your caffeine is for you to start the day. If you need a if you need a coffee or a tea in the morning, right?
I hear you.
It kickstarts positive emotions, and I used to pay money for that feeling, Mark. In clubs, I used to pay good money to feel like that. But
yes. We have likened the current experience to our childhood experiences of addictions and stuff like that. But the point is that gratitude is so powerful, and I know you're feeling it, aren't you, Gav?
Yeah, totally. And you recommended a book recently, Take 3, and I do that generally every day. Missed out a couple of days in about a month, and the feeling is just so beautiful. It's so positive. It's just feeling grateful to hear the birds sing, to be able to say good morning to my dad. That book there, yeah. And it's real simple.
Basically a journal. It's a journal that you complete as you go through life, and it's literally just 3 things to be grateful for in the past and the present, right? As it is right now, and then 3 things to be grateful for in your future. And if you can project that gratitude into the future, just a little bit, it's no one's asking you to it's not rocket science, it's pretty basic. But if you can be grateful for 3 things now and then be grateful for 3 things that haven't happened yet, that is a powerful message.
Plus a little bit of mirror work as well, Mark, and there's a little bit of mirror work. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, many people can't do it, but the mirror work thing is actually looking yourself in the eyes in the mirror and telling yourself that you love and accept yourself. And so many people spend their entire lives not doing it or avoiding it. And Louise Hay even talks about in her book how some people literally she actually has a mirror in her therapy, or she had a mirror in her therapy room. She gave people the mirror and asked them to look themselves in the eye and say, like, Mark, I love you. You're a great guy. You do great things in the world. And people just were not able to do it. And I find that such not a shame, but it's sad. It's like, start to be grateful for the fact you're even here, right? And then what you're doing is sending a more powerful message out to the universe that things. Actually, the message you're sending out to the universe is that you're ready to receive more.
Yeah,
and that's what we all want. That's the thing. We're all here to grow. We're all here to receive more. We're all here to do more and be more and have more and achieve more. And yet, what we do is we're trying to do that without actually doing this inner bit of work, which is actually, well, I'm grateful for this moment right now. And if I can be grateful for this moment right now, then I'm going to be grateful. I'll be grateful for the next moment and the moment after. So let's talk a bit about The Secret, because obviously I was on my detoxes you know, I've been very honest about it. You know, I went through a few detoxes. Someone I was talking to called them rehabs, and I was kind of like, I was a bit put off, but I was a bit like, rehab. But yeah, I suppose they kind of were a little bit, but they did entail tubes up the bum. So, you know, sorry about that. Sorry to lower the tone. But I did have plenty of colonic irrigations because I was trying to sort my stomach out without actually like working out what was really going on. But it was honestly, if you've never had that done, quite an experience, let me tell you. But you know, they were rehabs, I guess. They were detoxes. They were beautiful experiences. And Brian Miller and Annalise Miller, this couple that had this place up in Scotland, were like angels for me. They really helped me. The story in chapter 3 is basically Brian Miller giving me a DVD, as it was at the time. You know, I remember CDs and DVDs. He gave me a DVD and he went like, "Watch this," and I went, "All right." I went and watched it once. And I gave it back to him, and he said, "Go and watch it again." And I didn't have anything else to do. There was no TV up there. I had a little laptop, so I could whack it in the laptop and watch it again. So I did twice in one day. Then I tried to give it back to him again, and he was like, "No, Mark, you have to watch this 100 times, mate." And I was like, "Are you kidding? What are you talking about?" You know. But the point was, is he knew. He's like, "I'm going to get him on one of these chats one day." He knew. He was like, I always joke. He was like Yoda. He was like Yoda to my Luke Skywalker. He was like, you know, he was just like, "Listen, you know, do what I tell you, and you'll be successful, or you'll be a Jedi type thing." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." I didn't have anything much to lose, to be honest. But as far as The Secret goes, I mean, it was 2006 when it came out, and that's like 15 years ago. But it's still there on Netflix. Has any of you guys watched it? Any thoughts and feelings about The Secret? Go on, Dana.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I wish I'd been as energized. I was energized at the time, and I ran with it, and I was like, wow, it really resonated with me, and I really understood it. I felt like I did, but as I say, I kind of got wrapped up with, you know, I suppose work and everything like that, and I've kind of lost the way. I mean, so again, I've come back to it, and I'm going to be watching it again. But yeah, I mean, I love Tony Robbins, I love Bob Proctor, yourself. You know, all the great teachers out there.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
But yeah, no, it is absolutely right. And what I love about The Secret is they're not. You know, The Secret it's not a secret. You know, it is there. It's age old. It's timeless, and it's people have been doing this for like thousands, probably millions of years ago. So it's bringing it really now to us in our world.
Dinah, the successful ones have. The successful ones, the really successful ones, are the ones that have been doing this for a long time and practicing this.
Oprah Winfrey, people are stratospheric, you know.
You become what you think about. Those are the ones that are the most successful people because they've understood that. The ones that are not as successful are the ones that are like, you know, not into it, or you know, non-believers, or whatever you want to call it. But they're people that you know can be sort of almost controlled into like being a wage slave or whatever. You know, they have to go to work and stuff like that. Whereas actually, like when you start to believe this and you start to understand that you have a massive role in it, that's when you changes.
Yeah,
it's really important. Really,
but I think it's a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey, and you know, I'm on that journey. I'm excited and happy and grateful to be on it. But it is a journey.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's amazing, isn't it? When you start on that journey, it's amazing.
Go on, mate. Go
on. When you start on that journey, you start seeing and being made aware of things, don't you? Once you start, you've awakened almost, and then you start hearing things that some majorly successful things people start saying, like people that have really been successful, and you're thinking, hang on a minute, do you know what I mean? That's the secret. That's the law of attraction.
That's it, yeah.
And you just start seeing and hearing things, and you're like, there you go. You know, and it's great to see, you know, but people that are really big, like your Oprah Winfrey's and your Taylor Swift's and Jennifer Lopez's, people who have really, really made it in their field, and they start talking about visualization and belief, things, you know, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
But it's powerful.
And it's there for all of us. That's the beauty of it. It's there for all of us.
It's the leveler, isn't it? It's what allows people, you know, to get there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because just as you were saying that, one thing that I've always thought about is, particularly with my sort of musical thing, is, you know, what's the difference between me and Kylie Minogue? Actually, nothing. We were born the same. Not saying I want to be Kylie Minogue, but you know what I mean. She was born the same as me.
Yeah.
You know, you think of these people as being lucky, and then
can all
actually
do it. Yeah.
absolutely, anyone can do this stuff. She's not got some magical power. She's just a normal human being that's had some belief and a bit of determination and
exactly. And that's what's encouraging and exciting about it, you know, once you do get on that journey and you know, and staying on it. Staying on it's the hardest part.
Yeah. And what interesting to me is I've come through to this book really. Don't have coaching with Mark or anything. It's been reading his book through doing his lockdown mixes really. But I think that's the interesting point. Everybody can take something from it. You don't have to be at rock bottom to read this book. You don't have to be in a quandary in your life. You can take something from it, even if it's something tiny, and do something magical with it. It's clarified lots of things for me that I didn't even realise they were clarifying. I've kind of thought, hang on, you know. And then the odd text from Mark that'll just be in capitals, you can do it, you know, and I think, oh, okay. So I can.
Yeah. I love that.
It's so true. It's so true. You know, it's open to all of us.
Absolutely.
You know, and the thing is, the law of attraction is actually the law of vibration. It's happening right now, whether you believe it or not. Yeah,
that's right.
It's already happening, right? So you go, that's bollocks. I don't believe any of that. Okay, fine. So you don't believe any of it, but then if you start having a negative thought and a negative feeling, or you've got negative feelings that are subconsciously planted in there from when you were a kid and you haven't dealt with them, then you wonder why things don't work out. And you're like, this is crap. Why, you know, this hasn't worked out how I wanted, or it's holding me back, or I've got a fear and other people are judging me and all this. It's like, it's all noise. It's so much noise. And you know, one of the things that my dis-ease, you know, that actually taught me, my collapse actually taught me, was that, you know, get rid of the BS, get rid of the belief systems, start again with nothing, at total acceptance. Be grateful for food, clothing and shelter. Forgive yourself and forgive everyone else. Everyone is doing the best they possibly can. Free yourself of all of this negative noise. You do not need it. And then actually, then that's the start point. Right, what are we going to do with it now? You know, where are we going to go with it? And I've got a couple of things I just exactly, Kev. I've got a couple of things I want to share. So Kev says about ISO 45001 says specifically covers the need to risk assess human factors. That's brilliant, and it's a good progression. That's right, and I believe that the government in the UK are meant to be bringing that into the Health and Safety at Work Act in 1974. Obviously, updating that, but it's great that it brings in human factors, and that actually brings in e-colours into health and safety. Which, interestingly enough, I'm going to be talking about tomorrow night with Jason Anker, MBE, on Straight Talking. So that's going to be really cool tomorrow night. Please do.
Looking forward to that.
Do tune in and listen to Jason Anker tomorrow night, because Jason's a fascinating guy. In fact, I've got his book here as well, Paralysis to Success. Jason Anker, MBE, Bouncing Back from Adversity. And the adversity for Jason was, and I'm just reading this, I've just read the last couple of chapters. He's fallen off a ladder, he's laying on the floor, and he's saying, I can't feel my legs.
No.
I honestly, I'm reading it and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I had a collapse. I could still feel my legs.
Yeah,
right?
Mark.
Exactly.
Honestly, I'm reading. We've all got empathy. I'm reading this and I'm like, I can't even. Yeah. So I can't wait to talk. Jason, by the way, has bounced back and he's incredible. But anyway.
That's a heavy one. That's a hard one, isn't it? To get your nut around, Mark. Like,
I might start crying.
You had to feel your legs. Like, it's like
I might cry on the screen now, right? So I need to hold it together. Right. Colette says she's appreciate having over her head to find somewhere else to live, having to ask for help with housing, swallowed my pride, accepting my situation. That's brilliant. Losing the ego, you know, it is what it is. Bounce back, Colette. You know, you've got time. You know, you've got time on your side to come back from anything. Even, you know, at 44 is a young age, you know, where, you know, you are. There's stories of
watch the house come rolling in, Mark, at some point.
What's the what?
Watch the house or the new property there come rolling in for her once she gets the
absolutely. That's right. Once you get in tune with this, once you understand that actually you can affect things, but it starts with how you're actually thinking, what you're feeling, and then what you're putting out into the world. That's the start. I was bankrupt living in my mum's spare room, which incidentally was where my dad was sidelined to when he was I was a kid. I'm back in there. Honestly, that was tough for me. I'm 38. I'm in the same box room my dad was in like 30 years before, going, I can't believe this. It's like history repeating. I know I was like, I have to change this. And then someone said, well, it starts with you and how you think. And I went, yeah, all right then. Okay. So I'm going to think nothing but positive thoughts for the rest of my life. And I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to test you out. I'm going to test you out, Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins. I'm going to see if this works. And actually, just on that note, I know Kev's watching as well. Kev watched I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix last night. Have you all seen that?
Yeah.
You recommended it to me about a week or so ago. There was a game-changing moment, for me, as you know, Mark.
Yeah, because I love Tony. Yeah.
Julia, you saying you haven't seen it, but watch it. Watch I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix.
Okay.
Phenomenal 2.5 hours of your life, but it's very American. It's very it's very down to be American, but it's so effective. And fair play to Robin. He's one of he's the best, I think, in what he does in the world. Kev's just saying he's loving the discussion. Such a great group of guests. It is. I'll tell you something else as well. I love the fact that you're all talking amongst yourselves without me. I love it. It's brilliant. Carry on, have a chat. Who needs me? It's brilliant.
We all need you, Mark. Come on.
No, I'm joking. I love it. So, look, I mean, we've spoken a bit about the law of attraction, the law of vibration. What we think about is what we bring about. But the extra bit I would say to that is that it's not just thinking. We actually attract what we are. So we attract, there'd be a lot of people in the world going positive thinking, got to force myself to think positive, must think positive. Yeah. They're missing the point. And they'll wonder why the secret doesn't work. It's all bollocks. It's all BS. It doesn't work. But it doesn't work because you're trying to force something to happen. And that's not what we're talking about here. The real thing is getting to accept and understand and love you, and then be able to take that into the world, because we attract what we are, so what our vibration is, what we feel, I attract what I'm in vibration with. That's why I've ended up with this little calm little puppy coming into my life on Saturday, because at the end of the day, me, Emma, we are calm, we are relaxed, we are, and that's why this puppy's just chilled. I think you said last night, Gav, is the puppy going mental? Well, no, he's not. Why is he not going mental? He's not going mental because he's with me and Emma, and me and Emma are like,
Yeah, that's the first thing I said. It's the vibe of the house, Mark. It's the vibe. It's you two.
Have you called him Frankie? What's his name?
What's his
name?
Frankie Reggie Doobs at the moment. I've no idea. No, I've no idea. I don't think he knows either, to be honest. And he's not really responding. He's not really responding to anything as far as names goes, apart from tone of voice. But he's brilliant. He's brilliant. I love him. I mean, we've only had him 72 hours. I'm already smitten. So
don't take long, mate. Yeah.
I'm an animal lover, and it's nice to have a puppy around the house. I must admit, it's the first time I've ever had a dog. So there we go. Wow. It's all. I've always had cats before when I was a kid, but I've never had a dog, and he's brilliant. He's brilliant. So it's good. So let's have a quick. We're getting near the end of this now. We've been on for nearly an hour and a half, which time does fly when you really enjoy yourself. And I'm loving this. Honestly, I'm loving it. But one of the things I spoke about in chapter 2, particularly, was when you look back at your life. Sometimes you miss the moment, don't you? You can miss the moment. Like, you can look back at it and go, well, that was amazing. But at the time, perhaps I wasn't grateful enough for it. Perhaps I wasn't living in the moment. Perhaps I wasn't, and I think, one of the things that I teach, and one of the things that I resonate with all of you guys about is, making yourself not forcing yourself, but getting yourself to be in acceptance and living in the present moment, because that's where all the joy is. And when you can live in the present moment, then all of a sudden you're then free to actually really enjoy life. And I must admit, I've been on the golf course all day today, as you can see, but I loved every minute of it. I wasn't distracted by anything else. I was just there, and I was with these great guys, and I was just enjoying that moment. And when I do the Saturday DJ mixes, I'm enjoying that. And when I'm doing this, I'm enjoying this. And I think it's so important to try and do your best and train yourself. In fact, train yourself to live like this, because this is stuff that's come from Buddhism and even science and everything else. They teach you that don't miss the moment, because it's the best bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's the best bit. And I know each one of you are on your own journey with that, right? I mean, meditation wise, I only do little meditations and stuff. I like to focus in on stuff. But do you have any little strategies that are working well for you guys to keep yourself present?
Affirmations for me, Mark, is like there's been a few days where I've missed out, so I've not done any affirmations and I've not done my take 3, and then I could find, man, I could go down a rabbit hole here if I'm not careful, like as recently as a few days ago, and I had to work damn hard then to get myself straight, you know. So I'm trying. We've spoke before. I rang you up, didn't I? I said, Mark, do you meditate? Like, because I struggle. My mind is so busy. And like to sit there and not think of anything seems to me like to be one of the hardest things in the world. But I've only recently discovered like a particular song, and I've discovered that I can like meditate for that for like 9 or 10 minutes. And I was like so buzzing, like I could have moonwalked out the house when I did it. And I was so happy. So I'm just learning meditation, but affirmations, little things that keep me vibrationally in a good place, you know. And
you have to keep doing it. That's the point, Gav, right? You have to keep doing it. If you take, like you said, if you take your eye off the ball, it's like trying to build up a muscle in the gym. You're trying to pump a muscle, and then you don't do it for a few months. Well, guess what? That muscle is like. Exactly. But if you have to keep going. You know, it's persistence, isn't it? That's the important bit. What you're saying. Yeah. Julia, you got anything on that one? I mean, what do you do to sort of clear your mind?
Music generally, very boring answer, but
it's not boring.
For me, it's very odd, but again, I think probably my past career has helped me to always be a little bit like that. But I have been quite bad, particularly with my children, at looking back all the time, feeling sad. Oh, they're growing up, they're this, they're that, and again, part of the book and everything else and lockdown was actually thinking, okay, it could all go wrong tomorrow, so I should really just appreciate today. So I've made a concerted effort to do that. And also what it has highlighted to me, particularly the pandemic, is lots of people in worse situations. So my husband laughs, but on the fridge I have a list of people that I feel might need a bit of extra support or a bit of encouragement. And every day I choose at least 3 people off that list, and I contact them or speak to them. Or
that's lovely.
Sometimes send them a gift. It just depends. And that for me, I mean, it probably sounds a little bit.
No, it doesn't sound a little bit.
It comes over as a bit patronising, maybe, but it's not. I think I'm in a better place than them. But I just think if I focus on the fact that I'm okay and I've got enough in me to then look after the people, that makes me feel better. And it's just all about that vibration for me. So that's how I've.
And you're sharing. That's great.
It is lovely.
You're sharing it. Yeah.
That is lovely. And you told me that the other week. You said, like, you know, the way you framed that was that, you know, you kind of went, oh, you know, you might think I'm a bit crazy, but this is what I like to do.
Well, it's a bit weird because you think, you know,
that's the point. It's great. It's different than what most people do. But here's the thing: most people are unhappy, sick, and broke.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, you know, but the more people learn to give us gain. The more you give, the more you receive. It's just a universal law. It's so powerful. It's absolutely beautiful. Colette's just saying it has to be a daily habit. You're absolutely right. And she's also saying you've touched the nerve, because she says now I'm crying.
No! And then you'll start
happy tears.
Within that, though, it's what it's around. It's around, if I then can identify that in others, then I'm identifying I'm grateful for something myself. I think, okay, I'm in quite a good place, actually. I'm in a position where I can, you know, spend time worrying about other people rather than just worrying about myself. So
we'll be careful of the word worrying, but it's actually about caring. If you can spend enough time caring about you, then you can go and care about other people. You have to fill yourself up to be able to give to someone else. If I want to give you 100 grand, I better make sure I've got £1 million in the bank, right? You know?
That's fine if you want to give me 100 grand. It's just, you know.
If I want to give, you know, £1 million to charity, I better make sure I've got £10 million. You know, it's like, you know, but so many people, they, you know, you know, people that give to charity consistently. I always give money. I give some time when I can. But what I'm saying, you know, people give before they've actually sorted themselves out. You know, this is tough. And, you know, I'm going to say this. And by the way, it's a lovely quote on here. Love listening to you all guys tonight. It resonates, and I'm making my daily gratitude list. And that's beautiful, Julia, as well. So that's beautiful. This sounds tough, and it's meant to be a little bit, but it makes people think. Sometimes tough words, if you look at I'm Not Your Guru, you know, it's tough words sometimes get people's attention. The best thing you can do for a poor person is not be one. Now, I know that sounds tough. I know that sounds harsh, but the best thing you can do for a poor person is not be one, right? Don't be a poor person. Give everything yourself. You know what I mean? But first of all, make sure you have a nice full bucket to be able to overflow and give to someone else. You know what I mean? Don't be.
That makes sense.
Don't be a martyr trying to give from an empty bucket. You know what I mean? Don't be a poor person. Be a hugely wealthy person in happiness, health, and wealth, and fill yourself up, and then give that to other people. You know, and Julia, that's what you're doing, and all power to you. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And ringing 3 people a day. You know, how many of us could learn a lesson from that? Ringing 3 people, not because you want something, because you're trying to do some business, but how are you?
Yeah. Aww. Sharing good vibrations. That's a beautiful thing, man.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. So we could all learn a lot from Julia. I like it. Do you know what? There's a song in there somewhere, Julia. I think there is. There's a song in there. I think we can find
my first album will be called that.
So look, I think we're coming to the end. It's like 9 o'clock here. It's amazing. But at the end of every chapter, as you know, I have the chapter 3 remix opportunities, or I have remix opportunities at the end of every chapter. And for me, they just felt like the right bullet points to share at the end of every chapter. So at the end of chapter 1, for instance, is a real humdinger, if I do say so myself. And it's something that I share a lot, and it's something that I think that so many people, you know, even if they're new to listening to me and listening to you guys and everything else, so powerful that when you understand the power of a negative thought, you'll never allow another one to stay in your mind for very long.
Yeah. Massive.
Yeah. You know, and you know, the power of a negative thought can take you down if you're not careful, if you allow it to take root.
For sure.
If it's already rooted, you know, it can stop you. There's Bob Proctor quote where he says, "Fear can stop you faster than a speeding bullet." It's true, isn't it? Those fears can stop you. They can just stop you from doing what you would really like to do with your life. And then when you're on your rocking chair, or indeed on your deathbed, you know, you don't want to be looking back going, "Oh, well, I didn't do it because they might think I was rubbish." You know, you want to say you had a go. You know, you want to say, it was worth it. And so I mean, Emma did say to me the other day, she said, like, you know, that book's out there forever now, Wilkes. You know, it's there that, you know, even when you're gone, it's still there. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's good, isn't it? So anyway, chapter 3 remix opportunities. Discuss. Are we ready? Choose hugs, not drugs.
The irony there is amazing, right? Because it was always the other way around for a while, wasn't it? You know, so that one made me smile.
Yeah.
Made me smile.
Choose hugs, not drugs. I think, you know, I mean, some of the drugs did lead to hugs, admittedly. But the point is that, you know, I think that, you know, that self-destruction was something that I became a bit of a specialist at, in the way I was thinking and everything I was putting into my body, and a lot of relationships. You said it very well earlier, Gav. You know, when the ego takes over, you know, you can self-destruct in a huge way. And I think that it's important not to allow that to happen in your life. And it certainly won't happen to me again, because I've learned my lesson. I've learned my lessons and put it all in here, right? So music is the sound of emotion. We've covered that anyway. What I would say is what I've put in here as well, and this is not meant to be, you know, anything about my mother and father, because I know I've explained to you guys, all came on my 5 days to remix your life sessions that I did. I'm going to do another one in a few weeks. Both masculine and feminine positive energies are required for balancing out any individual, but also for balancing out children and families and everything else. You know, you've got to have that healthy balance of masculine energy and feminine energy within us and within our partnerships and our relationships and everything else. And I think it's so important to understand yourself first, and then the people that you're attracting around you. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think you've got to be careful. You've got to be careful, you know, because if you go off down the wrong track, you'll start attracting the wrong kind of people to you, and then that can lead to problems, you know. So
Yeah.
something for everyone to think about, I think. And the last point on here is when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive, will come. What do you think?
Love that one.
Yeah.
Love that one.
Yeah.
It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's powerful because it happened for me when you know, finally someone reached me because I was in so much pain. The Secret, and Brian reached me and he said, watch it, and that was my turning point. That was my moment. And I'm sure we've all had those moments when someone, you know, a great mentor or a coach. I mean, Diana, you were very kind with your words earlier about Proctor, Robbins, Wilkinson. But you know, you're very kind about that.
Interesting. If I could just say, do you remember when we first met? Sorry, Mark, just to interrupt you, because what's really beautiful about that last quote, what you just said. Remember when we first met? I was going to go on the Tony Robbins Unleashed Power weekend, and I was going to do that, and I was thinking, what do I do? Do I get a coach, or do I do that? Do I do this? I was thinking about money. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to invest in myself a little bit. And the funny thing is, I thought, well, no, I think I need a little bit more of the personal sort of like one-to-one, and I didn't know anything about you. Literally, I didn't know you was writing a book. I didn't know you were so into this, the Secret and the law of attraction. But you jumped out at me just from your. I looked you up on Bark, and just a little bit of that little blurb said, I think that's him. And I reached out to you, and look where it's taken me.
Well, I would say, I mean, you know as well as I do that we talk a lot about add value, give service, leave people with the impression of increase. And you know, you could have done that weekend. And don't get me wrong, I know you were on a limited budget at that moment. You know, you will do that weekend in due course. No doubt about it. You'll do that.
I know. Yeah.
I've done it twice, and it's brilliant, and you will do it. But what I would say is that from your investment in yourself and what you wanted to do, I believe you've had a huge amount of value already, and it's only getting better.
Absolutely.
Beautiful thing. Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
As Diana introduced herself earlier and said that she didn't know you from Adam in terms of how do we know Mark, I think was your first question. That quote struck me to my mind actually when you said about
the student is ready.
Yeah.
And exactly. And I put it out there. I did ask, I said, right, I need somebody to help me move on with my book. I need somebody to give me inspiration and energy.
Hello.
And along came the teacher, right? Mark, it's amazing.
The other thing about this as well is the fact that, you know, every day is a school day. And
love it.
In all honesty, I don't care how successful you are. I don't, you know, I'm sure Bob Proctor sits there at 86 years of age, still learning, still reading, still studying, still listening to other people, you know. You have to listen to other people and other, you know, because that's how we grow. You can accept or reject. You can say, well, I think that's a load of crazy mumbo jumbo, or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's a load of crazy crap. Or you can say, well, actually, I'll try that. That's an interesting strategy. I'll try it for myself, and if it works, then I'll keep doing it. And that's all I've done. And things just keep getting better and better, and it's not an accident. It's not an accident. It's not a mistake. It's reality, and it just keeps getting better and better. And I'm 50 now. By the time I'm 60, I know exactly where my plan is. I know exactly where I'm going to be. I know exactly what we will be doing when I'm 70. You know, I've got it. I know that. You know, if I could go back and talk to my 20-year-old self, I'd say just get into this and get moving. But he probably would. He probably would have been too busy dancing to care. Anyway, it's all fun and games, but yeah. So Julia, I mean, you know, as far as the student being ready, I mean, you must have done untold studies throughout your life, you know, to work with the NHS and grow and all that kind of stuff. I mean, has there been people that have inspired you, you know, that have got you moving in your life?
Certainly lots of patience, excuse me, but it's very true what you say. You know, we used to have people come into A&E with drug and alcohol problems. They have to be ready to give that lifestyle up in order to move on. So I think definitely it's down to you as a person to do that. But yeah, patients have inspired me all my life, I have to say. You know, patients I've looked after in adversity. The human spirit is an incredible thing, and I've seen people deal with some dreadful things and come out almost better because of it, which is quite unusual, you know, quite a strange concept. But you think, and listening to you saying about that, had you not have had those things happen to you in your 20s, you probably wouldn't be sat here now. You'd have lived, stayed at the bank, lived your life, and that would be it. So, I think it's all a good thing. It's kind of.
I've got a funny story. I've got a funny story about that. You're absolutely right. 100%. We are the sum total of all of our experiences and things that come on. And talking of that, of course, Jason Anker's interview tomorrow night. This is a guy that fell down, couldn't feel his legs. I mean, let's let that sink in again. Couldn't feel his legs when he was like, what? And he's come back. I mean, we'll talk about the entire journey with Jason, but he's come back to be an MBE to help people. Help people understand what happened to him, and then hopefully not allow it to help to other people. But I've got a funny little story about the bank which you've read, which I love to share. It was The Office again. It was Ricky Gervais. I think Ricky Gervais and the guys that wrote the In-Betweeners, they've been watching my life and they thought this is really funny. I'm going to write it down, right? But the bit when I was sitting in a bank, I was like 18. I'd worked there for 2 years after school, and I was like management trainee. And they're like, "Oh, he's really bright, Mark. I think he could do really, really well." And there was this guy, and he was like 35. Bless him. He was savagely overweight, very balding. Very bad halitosis, and he was not inspiring me at all. Bless him. He was doing his best, but he wasn't inspiring me. And he sat there, and it was like Tim. It was like Tim in The Office with Ricky Gervais, where he said, "Look, listen, in a few years' time," he's like, you could be me. You could be sat here, you could be in my chair. And I was like,
no thanks.
That resignation letter got written pretty quick.
We're all right. I've got another journey mapped out for me. I didn't know what it was. But, I knew it wasn't to be sitting in that chair at 35, not liking my life. But you're right, Julia. You're right. And what I find really interesting about that, by the way, I love the fact that it's actually the patients that have inspired you. That you've seen them come through adversity, and that's lifted you up, which in itself is really, really powerful story. Actually, really powerful. I think you've got a book in you. In fact, I think all of you have got a book in you, of course.
There's even probably a little book just based on the humorous slant of the things that Julia's seen.
There's probably several, I think there is. Yeah, there's several books that have been written about it, but I could probably write a book on funny stuff. It is,
Yeah,
but, with the warm sense of
I can coach you on that, Julia. Don't worry.
I know. That's another project, I think, Mark.
I can do that. But look, so we've looked at everything. We've been here for an hour and 40 minutes, which is incredible. And this has been really lovely. I mean, all of the book clubs have been great, but you guys have been really great. I mean, like I say, you're carrying on your own little chat without me. I'll just, I'll do that. No, it's been beautiful. What I just need to say to everyone who's watching and is watching this back is obviously, like I've said, Jason Anker tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Please do all tune in and do leave your comments and get involved and talk to Jason and me during the interview, because his story is something else. I mean, something that most of us can't. Well, the majority of people can't actually understand, but his story is powerful, really, really powerful. The other thing I want to mention is obviously the e-colours awareness session. I know Gav and Diana, you've both had lots of value out of that. Julia, perhaps you might want to come and join that, and I'll talk to you about that separately. And then obviously I've got the 5 Days to Remix Your Life event again on the 12th of April, which you're all very welcome to join. So please do, get onto Eventbrite and get involved in all of those. But everyone's feeling really lifted. Matt's just saying great session, thoroughly enjoyed it. Colette's saying it's been really great tonight. I feel really uplifted. That's beautiful. It's great feedback for all of you guys as well. So you've done your bit tonight by being a part of this and also helping other people. So thank you so much for reviewing chapter 3 of Life Remixed with me, and indeed being such willing participants and really getting involved and holding a great conversation. I just want to say again, I'm really, really grateful. I'd love you to come back as we go through the weeks and we keep revolving guests and you all getting involved with other people and connecting with other people, because that's the name of the game. Right? So, absolutely. So I want you guys to stay all where you are, please, you three. And I want to say big, big love to everyone who's been watching tonight. Stay strong. Do leave a review for Life Remixed on Amazon, please. I need 100. If you bought a copy and you're reading it, please just jump across to Amazon and leave a review, because we need to hit 100. That's our first goal. And then after that, I'll stick another 0 on that, and then another 0 and another 0. Anyway, listen, It's all good. It's all wonderful. You guys stay where you are. I'll say goodbye to everyone else. Thanks very much for everyone watching. Big love. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night with Jason Anchor, MBE.